Let's review the practice problems that you just did in Canvas. So for these problems, you needed to match the criteria that was met by the statement in each question. So we're looking at the relationship between watching television and initiation of smoking. So in this first question, the statement says, we examined the relationship between television viewing and initiation of smoking and found a strong dose-response relationship with increasing hours. The criteria that's met by this statement is biological gradient. The reason that I know that it's biological gradient is that it talks about this dose response. What we're saying is that the more TV that someone watched, there was an increase in smoking initiation. So the more hours of TV that were watched, there was a higher initiation of smoking. So that's why it's biological gradient. The next question has the statement that says, in this study, television viewing was measured 2 years before smoking initiation. The way to think about this question is to think about the fact that it says that television viewing, which is our independent variable, was measured well before the initiation of smoking. So in this statement, this would match the criteria of temporality. We know that our independent variable, television viewing, came well before our outcome variable. We're able to establish that temporal relationship, which is really important when we're determining causality. You have to make sure that the cause came before the effect. The next question has this statement. The association was substantial, with youth who watched more than 5 hours per day being 5.99 times as likely to initiate smoking than youth who watched 0 to 2 hours per day. Something that really stands out in this question to me is this 5.99 times as likely. If you see an odds ratio or relative risk that's that big, that's pretty astounding. Most odds ratios and relative risks that we observe in observational studies are like somewhere between typically like above 1 or maybe 2. So if you're getting into something near 6 or even 5, that's a pretty high number for an odds ratio, indicating a really strong relationship between the independent and dependent variable. So the correct answer for this question is the strength of association. It looks like there's a really strong association between the number of hours watched and the initiation of smoking. The next statement in the next question says that television provides adolescents with role models, including movie and television stars and athletes who portray smoking as a personally and socially rewarding behavior. So thinking about this statement, what we're saying is that this causal relationship is possible from the standpoint of our contemporary knowledge. And so the correct answer is plausibility. It is very plausible, given what this statement says, it's very plausible that because of these role models, these TV stars and athletes, they portray smoking as personally and socially rewarding. Therefore, watching TV could definitely be causing the initiation of smoking. And in the last question, we have this statement that says a similar association between television viewing and the onset of alcohol use has been reported. When we're thinking about this statement, what we see is that it's talking about finding a similar association, but in something else. And that something else is watching TV and the onset of alcohol use. So this leads me to conclude that the criteria that's met by this statement is going to be analogy. There's an analogous relationship that we see between TV viewing and something very similar. So the correct answer is analogy. It relates to the correspondence between known associations and the one that we're evaluating. We know that a similar association exists.